What is going on, guys? I'm Ethan and welcome back to another video. Now I want to say thank you guys for showing up. This is going to be a little long video today because I'm going to be telling you guys how you can get better at trials. Now I'm assuming you guys are an average player for trials, or just PvP in general, or you could be really good as well, or just someone who just wants to see how they can improve at the game, or what some other players' perspectives are on gameplay and how you want to play in trials. So to start off, this isn't really about how you play, but in trials, light level is a huge advantage or disadvantage. If you're a lower light, you're going to take more damage from weapons, and if you're a higher light, you're going to do more damage and take less damage. Did I say that right? I don't even know. But anyway, you guys know what I mean. If you play trials, light level has a huge factor. If you're a team with all 970s versus all 1050s light, you guys will get shredded by auto rifles and you won't be doing any damage to the enemy team. So you want to definitely get your light level. A good way to do this is, the raids. Pinnacles are very helpful when it comes to light level. The Prophecy Dungeon, Pit of Heresy, and this is by the time you're watching this, this might be a little outdated. It might be another new season, new light level, new stuff to get pinnacles from, but that's pretty much what you want to do. And artifact does not count for trials either, in case you were wondering. The second thing is supers. Now, if you're a hunter, I would not recommend using a tether. Tethers are like the worst super in the game, but supers really change how a whole game could go. If your whole team has supers, you guys can win around each round with one super, and that's like three rounds for you there. But it's crazy. You want to definitely make sure you have high intellect for your stat distribution, and make sure you have really good recovery as well, and mobility. So that's the main three things I would suggest focusing on: mobility, intellect, and recovery. Those are very important. Now, if you're a warlock with Dawnblade, you might want to run maybe a little higher strength for your celestial fire, or maybe a little higher discipline for your grenades, so you can jump high in the air and get different angles. If you're a titan, you might want to, and you're running a striker, you might want to run, higher strength for your ground slams, hunters, strength for your throwing knives, your smoke nades if you prefer tether, so on and so forth. I like to, every game I play, look at the enemy team, see what supers they're using, and reflect off of what I want to use. So if an enemy team is using 3 bubbles, and I'm a hunter, I will not use a tether. I will most likely use golden gun so I can break the shields, or break the bubble, or I'll use a staff to maybe, if I can do it right, kill everyone in the bubble. And the bad thing about bubbles, though, is the orbs. You can chain so much because it generates 3 orbs. So if you're a titan, Thunder Crash is very good against bubbles. And if you use a bubble, you can generate a lot of supers for your team with the Orbs of Light. But I like to reflect off of what the enemy is using. I say keep that in mind if you're trying to run. And don't use a tether if an enemy is using 3 bubbles, because you won't do anything. Next thing is weapons. So for your weapons, you definitely don't want to use something so irrelevant or so bad that you won't be able to do anything with it. For example, maybe a Lord of Wolves. Lord of Wolves, I'm not saying it's bad, but it's not the meta right now. You might want to stick with the meta if you're trying to go for flawless. So Mountaintop, it's really scummy to use, but it could get you there. Bastion, if you need to, you have to, right? Because, Revoker's getting Sunset next season, and people are like, Mirror Blade, why don't you try and use another weapon so that way you'll get used to the ammo loss? Like, people are using it this season still, the Revoker, and I want to make sure I have as much of an advantage as my enemy as possible, so that's why I'm sticking to Revoker. If you have to, use Mountaintop before it gets Sunset. It might be really a bad move on your part because you'll get a bunch of messages or whatever, but as long as it gets you where you want, no one asks you how you go flawless. They only ask you how many flawlesses you have, if you want to put it that way. Just don't abuse it to the point where, it's just way too annoying. Next thing is teammates. So teammates play a big role in your trials games, for sure. So you want to definitely, I say KD is important, and it might not matter all that much, but it still does matter if you're LFGing, because that's the first thing they're going to look at is your KD. If you're trying to get into a good trio for trials, KD is the one thing they'll look at, because they're not going to waste their time and be like get a 0.6 in here who says they're better than their KD, run him into a private match and see how good they are. They're going to find someone who says, I'm a 1.8, statistics show, and pick that person instead. So make sure you get good teammates, and you might want to consider getting your KD up, not running with negatives, all that if you want to improve in trials. Next thing is movement. So you definitely don't want to bot walk everywhere, and pick really good angles as well, because angles and flanks can do very well against getting picks off, and we'll talk about picks later and what you should do when you get them. But movement for sure, like in a shotgun lane, if you're getting chased, you run out the door, jump up in the air, the other person runs out and you get them. They don't even see you above in the air. Something like that, Or when you get your grenade for Dawnblade, you eat your nade, you jump up in the air, glide, and get some snipes off. That's the type of movement you want. I could do a separate video on movement if you would like me to as well. Just comment down below. But that's all I'm going to cover right now. So the next thing is staying with your team. You don't want to go off by yourself. Sometimes flanks work very well, but as soon as an enemy sees one person by themselves, they'll often collapse on you just so they have that first pick. So be careful when you're going and rushing or flanking all three of them, and just be aware for that. Staying with your team is very good, because you guys can also get a pick on the enemy team as well. So I think that's an important part of trials if you're trying to go flawless or just getting better as a team. Next thing on the list is, if you're low on health, don't peek again. Sometimes I even peek a little bit because I do some dumb stuff once in a while, but don't peek if you're low. You're going to get instant pick. The enemy is going to be waiting for you to come out and just obliterate you. Next thing is taking advantage of the meta. I kind of already talked about this a little bit, but if someone's using a Bastion, you might want to put one on as well. If someone's using a Mountaintop, might want to put one on as well. The meta, even though it's pretty scummy to use sometimes, like Hard Light, that auto rifle just melted before it got nerfed. Mountaintop and Bastion destroy. It's crazy, but you might have to at some point in time, to just because the meta allows lower skilled players to actually get some wins off of the higher skilled players. So that's pretty much all of there is taking advantage of meta. Next thing is comms. Comms, it's very important. You don't see a lot of teams going no comms in trials and going flawless. If you can get comms out and communicate with your team, someone's going by themselves, let's rush them all together, get a pick, then it's an instant 3v2. Stuff like that will get you the win, no problem, if you have really good communication. If you say, I bodied one, you push up a little bit, get the finish, instant 3v2, something like that, right? You pop a super, you say, okay, I'm going to pop a super first, don't pop yours. So that way you don't have a miscommunication of two people popping a super at once. I think that's really good. If you want to go flawless, I know I've said that for like every single thing. They're all good. If you want to go flawless, if you want to get better as a team, and then that's honestly really good if you want to go flawless. But another thing about that is don't use your super dumb. And sometimes I do this as well, but don't pop your super if you're already low, because you're just going to get melted instantly. So if I get bodied by a sniper and then I pop an arc strider, I'm dead. They're just going to spray me down, and it's not going to end well for your team. Your team's going to be mad at you. So don't do that. Think about your supers. Think about what you're going to do. and just make sure you just, just think about what you're gonna do. Next thing is guard the orbs. I see a lot of teams, and sometimes me and my team do this too. We get a pick and then we just carelessly leave the orb. It might even cost us the game sometimes, but you don't want to leave the orb out and let the enemy team get the res, because if you get a pick, an instant 3v2 situation is going to have you a higher percentage of winning that round. If you like any 3v2 situation, and you guys will have a good time as long as you watch the orb and make sure no one can get to it. Now, speaking of orbs though, you definitely, if you get a res on one of your teammates, make sure to push their body, because as the resing animation doesn't allow you to move for a couple seconds, and with that amount of time you can get sniped without even, you can't even react. So make sure you push your team so they don't get res sniped. And I get mad too when I get res sniped. It annoys me a lot. But the next thing on our list is don't be alone. If you're alone and if you're not going for a really smart flank, or they can't see you, or they can see you, you're going to get collapsed on. I talked about this earlier. It's not a good idea to be alone most of the time, because the enemy team will take advantage of that, and especially if you keep doing it, they'll expect it as well. So collapsing, if you guys do not know what it is, I've been saying it for a lot this video. It's basically where 3 or your whole team or 2 people go and just push one kid by themselves to get that pick. So make sure if one guy is alone, you collapse on them. You want to collapse to get that first pick, because first picks usually decide the round. The next thing is pop super if you have to. I see a lot of people on round 4s not pop their supers on the enemy team, and they end up dying with their super without even popping it. If it's round 4 and you're about to lose, you gotta pop the super. If it's 0-4, you gotta pop the super, because if you lose that round, you can't do anything. You just have to take the L there. So make sure you pop your super if it's round 4, even if you have to pop all 3 just to win the round. You got to do it. Okay, so a really important thing is, if you're getting rezzed, spin in a circle. Sometimes it can throw the enemy off if you spin in a circle on that animation. That's the one thing you can do, actually. I forgot to mention, which is a good counter. If you spin in a circle while getting rezzed, that can save your life there, and that can be another 3v3 situation or 3v2, depending about how many people are left on your team. So that can really help. And another thing is crouch when you're trying to flank, or just in general when you're trying to get different angles, because crouching takes you off of the radar for a certain amount of time, which can really help you, because the enemy team will not expect you in that lane. So I think that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope I helped you guys as well, because I want to help the community get better at trials. I'm not even the best player. I'm not even trying to say I'm higher than all you guys, I'm better than all you guys. Like, I just want to give tips that I've learned and can help you guys in the future. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, consider subscribing. It helps my channel out a lot, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys get better. Peace out.